Yeah. Well, so we are recording this is our first official podcast. Look, and I was gonna say our first official conversation, but we've known each other forever. So it's not Absolutely. Our first conversation. I didn't just meet you.
Absolutely. It's the first one on camera or being recorded.
So. Right. Yeah. So if you're just joining us, you have landed on Tough to Talk About, and it's the brainchild of Mark here, who we're going to get into what it is in a second, but we're hoping that you're going to stick with us. We think this is going to be really good for lots of people to identify with, but kind of cathartic for both of us, I think, too. It's like, I don't know if you're looking forward to this as a way for you, Mark, but I'm kind of looking forward to it as a way for me to get through some stuff of my own stuff too.
Oh, for sure. This is this is definitely some therapy for me too. So
yeah,
definitely could understand that, and hopefully it will be similar for other people too. Things that are on their mind that they might feel alone about or are struggling dealing with. So hopefully we can all be in service to folks that are out there feeling similar.
Yeah. So Tough to Talk About. I want to get into what we're going to be doing later, but I want people to understand who we are first, because I think it kind of helps set the stage as to why we're doing this whole thing. So of course I know you, but like we got to give our listeners like some sense of who you are. And first of all, for anybody who's watching this, I need to know what's on their shirt, because I only what's your
gusto?
What's your gusto?
So this is actually there's a restaurant in Atlanta called Gusto. Mm-hmm. And this was a shirt that was given to me years back when I was actually working for a company that partnered with Gusto on a few things. And what's your gusto is basically what do you like? Yeah. Gusto is, like in Spanish. So what's your gusto? What's your passion? What's your what is it you like? So I thought that'd be a good shirt to wear today. Plus it was clean.
You know what? That's important. So what's your gusto, Mark? Tell us about Mark and tell us about your gusto.
Yeah. So my gusto has shifted over time. For a long time, I thought my gusto was making money, and I thought my gusto was business. That's what I thought. What I've learned over time is that my gusto is more impact driven. And specifically, I'm still doing some of the work on myself to understand where it all comes from, but really leaning into underrepresented and those of us out there who have less privilege than myself as being a white male in America. And I have some general thoughts in terms of where that all evolved from, a lot of it from childhood. But then actually the way Elaine and I know each other is through a leadership group here in Atlanta, and went even deeper into some of those issues. And that's one of the onuses for the show. I just feel like from that experience, there's just so much that gets talked about, but maybe not to the level that it needs to be talked about. And a big purpose and a big passion of mine, what's my gusto, is, really opening up the dialogue and getting deep into some of these tough topics. And really I'm also a recovering CEO. I most recently served as CEO of 2 companies and CEO of companies before that. That was kind of the persona that I wore. Going forward, it's going to be much more impact driven, and maybe I'll have a title like that, maybe I won't, but my measurement is not going to be on titles or profit. It's going to be on impact and making a difference.
So I gotta ask you, what is a recovering CEO? What do you recover from?
So, in my case, it's probably different for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, just the profit motive. Everything is profit oriented.
Mhm.
It doesn't really matter. There's companies out there who are at least attempting to look like they care about other things.
Yeah.
And maybe there are some that do. Um, Again, you know, generally, and these are some of the things that we'll get into over various episodes, calling out hypocrisy and bullshit,
Mm.
as I see it real time, or as we see it real time, and there's plenty of it.
Yeah.
But really, just whether you're a public company or whether you're an investor backed company, at the end of the day, um, you're a racehorse. You're there to make them money.
Mm.
um the impact components, generally speaking, are afterthoughts.
Hmm.
And at least for me, you know uh 30 some odd years or whatever it is, 25 years of just focus on profits.
Yeah.
Again, that's what I thought, um my interests were. But after deep reflection and doing a lot of work on myself, I realize, money is obviously something that we need to survive. But um, for me, impact is really my driving force.
Yeah.
I got to a point, honestly, as CEO of my companies, where I did not give a shit about the profit.
Mm.
It was all around, what are we doing from an employment standpoint? What are we doing to better and improve the lives of the people who work for us? In one particular case, it's a technology company that services underrepresented communities and helping them grow their business.
Hmm.
All things that meant a lot to me. But anytime I would go into a board meeting or a investor meeting, rarely, basically never, would they care about those things. So that's generally how the corporate and business world works, with some exceptions. So
Yeah.
um I've had to take a lot of showers to wash that money piece off. And that this feels like a much better fit in terms of where we're headed.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that you gave that really honest and sort of real, right, description of who you are, but you glossed over, hey, I like we got to give the people, they don't know Mark, so you're a dad, you're a business guy, like give us the like top five, like, hey, what
Yeah,
I'm gonna say pronouns, but not, I don't mean like your pronoun like the way we
yeah,
use it
yeah.
now, but like, who are you in 5 words? You're and I know being a dad is huge to you, right? So
Dad
that's
is
why I said that
that
one first.
dad is number one.
Yeah.
I'm proud dad to my 13-year-old boy, who's actually in DC right now,
Really?
meeting with Senator Warnock.
Nice.
So just got a picture of Warnock coming in from hot off the press from DC.
So you
So
got a rock star son. I mean, who else is going to meet with the senator in DC and
rock,
their son?
rock,
Like
rock,
what
rock.
what's
Yeah.
going on there, right?
I don't know all the details, so I'll get it when I know he's up there with some of his classmates. So
Oh, fantastic.
I'm proud of him, and it looks like he's learning a lot up there too. So
Cool.
proud of that.
So
And
the dad.
I've been an entrepreneur. Well, let's take it a step further. I was yeah, an Ernst and Young consultant for a while,
Mm.
and realized working for a big company wasn't for me. So ended up working for my first startup in 2004.
Okay.
ultimately that company sold to a large hospitality company.
Mm-hmm.
And I became an investor, also entrepreneur pretty much overnight, and started to invest in a number of different companies. Some did great, some didn't. One company that I invested in was a fundraising technology company that sold in 2014. I've made a number of investments in the food space. One of my more fun ones, and it's just been quite a ride, is High Road Ice Cream based in Marietta, Georgia. Shout out to High Road and the team over there.
Mm-hmm.
Got involved with them early on, ended up on the board, ended up chief operating officer and interim chief financial officer for a period of time. Um, and then a number of other food investments, and also various other companies that were offshoots of the food world. And in some cases, I would be an investor, and in some cases, like in these two companies recently, I was CEO of these two companies, and then stepped down really to focus on more of the purpose work that my life has taken me to. I'm also a proud dog owner
Ah.
uh, to my little mini Labradoodle Chewy, who won't make an appearance today, but I'm sure he'll make an appearance on other shows. He's
Uh-huh.
he's out in the rest of the house. I'm batting in here. So um, I have an older sister who I'm very close with, who lives in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
So she and I spend a lot of time together when we can. And in terms of, let's see what else. I'm a New York sports fan.
Oh, okay.
I was born in New York, and while I've lived in Atlanta longer than I lived in New York, I bleed New York sports.
Yeah. Okay.
So for the Atlanta folks out there and other folks who are anti-New York sports fan, hopefully you can look past that, and know that I'm very loyal. Because to stay a Knicks fan and a Mets fan
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's,
and a Giants fan, it's pretty brutal. So
yeah.
at
Yeah.
least you know I'm loyal. At least you know I'm
Yeah.
loyal. Yeah.
And yeah, for the Trey Young fans out there and the Hawks fans, he kind of embarrassed y'all. Just gonna say he's making a name for himself in New York. We'll just say that.
Yeah. Trey likes to light up New York.
Yeah.
So that's sore. Let's move on from that. Oh,
Okay, cool.
it's too fresh.
That's it. It's
It's
too,
too
yeah.
it's
The wound's
too
still open, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Mark mentioned that he and I know each other through a leadership program. For those of you who are watching, you'll probably know exactly which one it is because there's a little bit of product placement in my shot. But yeah, we met each other there, and I feel like we were in a group together, one of the small groups together, but we just like, I don't know, our personalities just kind of gelled, and we didn't spend a ton of time together throughout the program, but anytime we did, it was just like it was just, I don't know, there was something that we just had the connection, and I felt,
Energy.
hey, this is somebody that I feel really comfortable around. You probably felt the same way, and
100%.
so we just connected from there. But I'm a parent too, so I have an older daughter. She's actually a grown person. She's out grown and out of the house, and she is not meeting with Senator Warnock today. She is probably at work, I would assume. She works from home most of the time, but she's almost a quarter of a century old, so that tells you a little bit about that. But moved out. But that's one of the top things that I would say too is about me. If I had to say 5 things about myself, is being a mom, and being a person of faith. That's a huge part of who I am. I'm really into fitness and nutrition, and that's a lot of what I do outside of my day job. My day job, actually, I work for a nonprofit. So I was going to ask you a question about the impact thing that maybe I'll save for a later show. But I work for an organization that has mission at its heart, and working nonprofit marketing and have been doing that for a while. But yeah, those are a few things about me. The fitness and nutrition thing is really kind of a huge thing for my personal sanity. You know, you're a recovering CEO, and I think that how I recover from life is through fitness, to be honest with you. So that's part of what drives me in that regard.
Her
But
boxing videos are badass.
oh, I appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like if at least if somebody meets me in a dark alley, I don't know if I'll make it out, but I'm gonna put up a good fight.
you sure will. I don't.
Put up a heck of a fight for them. So
Yeah,
I'm
you
not gonna
will.
make it easy.
No, you won't.
Yeah, but I also was a journalist in my background for a little bit. My degrees in journalism, so I tell people all the time I've been paid to talk my entire career. Like that's all the jobs I've had were about talking. So I could do this pretty much all day. So unfortunately, or fortunately for the people who are listening to us, that they're gonna get a lot of me talking, because that's just what people have paid me to do. But now I get to do it in the capacity with the friend, just to do it for fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe some of the conversations won't be fun, but I think we'll grow from this, and hopefully, like you said, some other folks will grow from the opportunity to hear and to think and to process, and even maybe to empathize with some of the things that maybe you or I, or we bring folks on as guests, that they'll realize and say, hey, wait a minute, I thought that was just me, or oh my gosh, I didn't know this, I need to do something, I need to get activated
yeah,
and do something. And I think that's our hope, right? Is that this isn't we're not building a program, or we're not, this isn't that. It's more so we wanted to talk about issues that other people may not be talking about, whether they're personal to us or whether they're things that we see. But you've got to vocalize some stuff to get impact and to start making change. But that doesn't mean that we just want to talk about it, right? Too. So I think hopefully the hope is that some people will be watching this and figure out, now I've heard this and I've illuminated, now what do I do with this information, right? Even if it's for self, if it's something to improve yourself or something to help yourself, like there's opportunity out there. And hopefully that's, at least in my mind, I'm hoping that people will get from that is, now I've got some information, or I've heard somebody else say it, and I can do something.
yeah. And I think a lot of this around, for me anyway, started around just a continued recognition of my white privilege and wanting to go deeper on that and race in general. And I've noticed from where I sat in the CEO's office that going too deep on the white privilege topic made certain people feel uncomfortable. And I also noticed that it would often lead to perhaps me silencing myself a little bit. And
as the CEO, which is interesting.
yeah, well, the investors and the board they don't always like things to get too hot in the kitchen. And the truth is, without going into detail now on a specific event, I did say something that had the investors and the board running a little scared. And that was a bit of a wake-up call that the conversations we should be having more of are being, and a lot of this people already know, but some don't. A lot of things are being swept under the carpet because it's uncomfortable. And then, from race, it sort of evolved into mental health, and there'll be conversations around mental health. And, luckily, the conversation is happening more in terms of the mental health epidemic. but I myself have dealt with various mental health issues throughout my life. Um, there's a stigma that's still associated with it.
Mhm.
There's a stigma that's associated with it in certain minority communities,
Yeah.
even more so
Mhm.
than
And
other
lack of
communities.
access too, even if there isn't, yeah.
100%. So
Yeah.
like all of those things, and Elaine and I have developed a list, and
Mhm.
the list will continue to grow, and then we'll also look to the audience in terms of other topics that we want to cover. But really, if we were to get asked, what's this gonna all be about, the name says a lot,
Yeah.
tough topics. And it won't be only race and it won't be only mental health, but there'll be a lot of topics that we go deep into that, for whatever reason, kind of gets swept under a carpet, or, you have to be too PC, or you feel like you have to be too PC. Um, I think with Elaine and I, you'll get unfettered and untethered. I was talking to my best friend earlier,
Uh-huh.
and I said, now that I'm no longer CEO of what I was CEO of, I feel like I can be more untethered,
Mm.
in terms of some of the difficult topics that I want to be able to talk about. And to Elaine's point, it's not just to talk; it's what action can come out of it. And in a lot of cases, it's just ripping the band-aid off
Yeah.
and having the conversation. And it could be, if you share the episode with somebody else and it perpetuates the conversation,
Mhm.
that alone might be the impact. But we definitely want this to be a team effort, between us and our audience. And it'll be exciting to see where it all goes.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so this is our first episode. And we really just wanted to take the time this time to really introduce ourselves, to talk about what we expect, or what we're hoping for the show. It's always interesting because you could start somewhere and conversations and things evolve to somewhere else, but this is where we think we're going with this.
That's right.
So we've laid the groundwork for everyone, and we hope that you're interested in taking the ride along with us. We appreciate, anyone's feedback, all of your feedback about what you've heard today, and even ideas, as Mark said, on where we should go and what we should talk about, and if we need to go back to an issue or we didn't get deep enough, challenge us. And we want that because I think that's how we're hoping that this is a collective conversation, even though it will be guided by Mark and myself, but doesn't mean that we don't want everybody else to join in, and we may ask some of you who are listening to join us. So
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll have guests along the way too.
Yeah.
Experts, because that's one thing Elaine and I recognize is,
Mhm.
we have a passion and a purpose for a lot of what we're talking about, but we aren't the experts on
That's right.
everything.
Right.
So, we'll work real hard to bring some folks on to the show to get deep into some of the conversations that we plan to have. And I know that there are some really good guests that we are thinking about having on that I think will be very enlightening and insightful, and get the conversations going that also generally don't mince words.
Right. That's
um
right.
that is what Elaine mentioned. It's interesting, we're in the leadership program and we didn't interact much, but the energy was there. And I think one of the things we both picked up on with each other is that we are both passionate, but we also speak our minds generally.
Mhm.
And and don't get too bogged down in the fear of speaking our minds and coming out and saying what's on our mind. And I definitely picked that up with Elaine. And then um Elaine has a infectious smile too. So
Hey, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Not infectious in the way that you gotta watch when you say infectious
All
these
right.
days
We're
because
during a pandemic.
COVID is
Yeah. Everything's
however,
changed. Yeah.
I don't have COVID. Okay, first of all, I gotta ask you though, because you just did something that this is so funny. What do you have in your hand? Please tell.
That is a
Okay.
I guess just a stress toy that was on my
Yes.
son.
Okay, because it looks
Yeah.
like this is gonna sound so strange, but it looks like a koosh ball, right? Like I don't know if you
That's
remember.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It is very reminiscent of a koosh ball, which I
Yes.
love koosh balls.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's why we're on the same wavelength. I'm telling you.
I love koosh balls.
So I literally 2 days ago, I said I mentioned to everybody that right then I'm sort of in this fitness nutrition stuff, but I'm going for another certification and I'm almost finished with it. But there was part of it, and it's about behavior change. So part of it was sort of knowing your learning style and anyway, most people have probably done one of those assessments before where you go and you learn if you're auditory or visual, you're kinesthetic, whatever. So part of me going through this was like I had to go through another one, and my scores came back highly kinesthetic, right? So, one of the suggestions is, oh, when you're studying, then you should get something like to play with. And they mentioned koosh ball, and I had forgotten. So I had forgotten about this. I probably had, I don't know, 3 or 4 of those things when I was a kid and
Yeah,
loved it. And literally, there's koosh balls
that's
in my
funny.
Amazon cart right now that I need to pull the trigger on because I was like, I got to
Good.
bring this back because I'm always playing with something, whether it's my hands or a pen or
Yeah.
whatever, and it just helps me focus. So when you picked that up, I was like, does he have a koosh ball in his hand?
Yeah,
I
it's a
need
it's
that.
it's a bit reminiscent of a koosh ball, and
Yeah.
and I'm doing the same thing with the little strings. Like
Yes.
I'll break them all. I don't know what that means, or dangle it like this.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but it's interesting. So, and we'll get into this. Elaine and I have had this conversation. Um, Generally speaking, I've on all the tests, I'm way introverted.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Yep.
being in front of the camera or being, recorded isn't something that comes naturally, although it's becoming more natural. And there'll be a show, I'm sure,
Oh yeah.
on that. Um, but this is just something to make me feel a little more comfortable, and it also brings back all sorts of childhood memories. I collected koosh balls and used to organize them based on color and size.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've got some OCD qualities to me. So uh, I had a whole collection of those. But good catch. And you got to pull
Yes.
the trigger on it. You got to get
Yes,
yourself that
I'm
koosh
getting
ball.
it now for sure because now it's
Yeah.
confirmation that I need to have it. Not that I need to buy anything else from Amazon, and I'm sure every device in my house will now serve me a notification or an email saying something about koosh balls because that's how Jeff
You're
Bezos works.
watching.
But whatever.
Yeah. They're definitely watching
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, cool. Well, this has been good to catch up with you, my friend.
Yeah.
We haven't
Always.
seen each other in a few weeks, but we've talked. And
Yep.
again, we just hope everybody has a chance to listen and give us your feedback on this first show. Give us your thoughts on ideas, and we'll come back with the new one and get a little bit more deep into some of these topics, and we'll ask you for your feedback on which ones and which order we should do. So look for that too. But for now, any last words, Mark? Anything that we didn't cover that we should talk about before we wrap it up today?
No, just excited to be embarking on this journey, both with my friend Elaine, who again, I'm actually a practicing Buddhist. So energy is something that means a lot to me, and I will pay very close attention to energy.
Yeah.
So the energy with Elaine from the the word jump, or the early in the leadership program, was there and picked up on it. So the fact that we're actually hosting this show together is super exciting for me personally.
Yeah.
And then also just in terms of the subject matter and the topics that we're going to go into, Again, it's something I think, we both agree is needed to get deeper into things. So just really excited. And, for those of you who are going to join us on this journey, thank you. And we look forward to having you as part of the community, and really being part of what it is that, to Elaine's point, wherever this might go. As an entrepreneur, things tend to zig and zag, and you never quite know where things are going to go. They take on a life of their own. Generally speaking, we want it to be impactful.
Yeah.
I don't see it becoming anything about dating, a dating show.
Well, that was out of left field. What in the world? I wasn't thinking that either, Mark.
I don't see it going veering off that far, but yeah, you never know. You never know. But just really excited to have you, and look forward to seeing where things go.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, all right, friends. We will talk to you soon, and stay tuned for more.
Take care.